Welcome to Cocktails Over Coffee, a podcast that spotlights truly inspiring individuals that have taken a leap of faith by leaving their corporate careers, otherwise known as their coffee, to pursue their passion, otherwise known as their cocktail. I'm Janae Green, and I'm so excited to be here today with Atlanta songstress Angel White.
Hi, I'm happy to be here.
So excited to have you. And cheers. We are both drinking Tito's-based cocktails today.
Yes, we are.
I have a martini. What do you have? Yours sounded super interesting and good.
Yeah, so I have a Tito's with a tonic and lime. So I call it my adult Sprite.
I love that. I'm going to have to make that since I already have Tito's in the fridge. Just to be easy.
It's easy, it's quick.
Awesome. So I'm really excited to chat with you today. And I told you your song Bed Warmer was the soundtrack to my quarantine. I love it so much. And the rest of your music, I was listening to it actually while I was making my cocktail. So I'm excited to hear about how you got into it and what you were doing before. But let's start from the beginning. Tell me what your 9 to 5 was, what your coffee was.
So once I graduated from college, I could not get a job. And it's so funny because I keep like records of everything. That's just the girl that I am. Yeah. And I have emails from all of the places that I submitted, over 100 applications, 100 to 150 applications. I was attempting to break into journalism. Mm-hmm. And it was about 8 to 9 months of applying, and I couldn't get a job. So my mother's coworker was like, hey, I know this place that's hiring. And it was a law firm. And it was, okay. I went to school for communication. So it was a little bit of communications in the legal world. It was basically paralegal work. So I would be communicating with our clients, which were mostly banks, and I would be communicating that towards the lawyer. Mm-hmm. So I applied and I got it, and I never left. I stayed at that one job.
For how long?
For years.
Okay.
Let me see. I started, because I left my job this year. So I started.
Did you really?
Yeah, I left my job this year. I left my job a week before we shut down.
This is such a story. Actually, I didn't even know about the timing of when you actually left your job.
Oh, yeah.
That's wild. Okay, we have to talk about that.
We do, because it's been a whirlwind, like actively in real time experiencing.
Girl.
Yeah, so I'm sure it'll be therapeutic for me to talk about. But yes. I was at my job. I started, I think it was 2013. So I started, and I didn't leave until this year. So I was at that job for 7 years. Now, there were some adjustments along the way. Basically, I ended up going part-time, working with them. Okay. And then from part-time, that's when I left.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, so worked with them, and I was doing paralegal work. And I think what kept me there that long is that my job was very much so into what I was trying to do.
Okay. And so it made sense for you.
Yeah, and then it was like they were just extremely supportive, like to the point where I would be like, "Hey, I'm leaving to go on tour with this artist for 3 weeks, and I'll be back." And they'll be like, "Okay, cool." Yeah. Like,
that's a blessing. Kind of that's very rare.
It is very rare, especially in legal affairs. And so, They really were extremely supportive. I mean, they even let me go remote. I was going to quit, and they were like, please don't quit. What can we do? I was like, I can work remote. Wow. And they were like, cool. So they made it very hard to leave, which is why I believe I was there for 7 years.
Yes.
But ultimately left my job this year.
Okay. Where did music come into the picture, though? Like, and not in a professional sense. Like, when did you discover that you could actually sing and that you enjoyed it?
My sister tells the story that when I was 2, she was in a performing arts school. So she would sing notes, and I would sing the notes that she was singing. So she said, she would go to my mom. She's like, look, she can sing. If I sing this note, she'll sing the same note back. Oh. And I have to run with the story. But that's when she said she knew I was gonna be able to sing. Okay. And then they had this recording of me singing Norma Monkey's Jumping on the Bed. And so of course. That was like me probably 3. So around 4 or 5, like I have a very music driven family, like artistic, just in the arts. Like my sister was in theater, like, so she was always setting up scenarios for us.
You grew up in that space.
Yeah, to perform and sing. And so my first singing was in church. That's where I grew up singing. Singing for my mom's friends, my dad's friends, or church.
Okay.
That was where it started.
Okay, got it. But at no point soon did you realize that this was potentially going to be a career?
No, we people flirted I flirted with the idea when people would be like, you can sing, you should do it. I'm like, no, I think it was more of a confidence issue. Like, I just didn't feel like I would be, I didn't have the skills or the edge to be a recording artist. I just didn't believe that.
Right.
And not that anybody told me I couldn't. It was just, that was just how
it seemed so far-fetched.
It was just far-fetched. There was no one in my immediate circle, no one in my family who had gone into entertainment as a profession. So I was just like, that's not what we do here, you know?
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, that was when I kind of discovered music was something that was, a part of my life.
Okay. Okay. Got it. So you were in this job for 7 years. And
7 years.
But you enjoyed the work.
No, I did not enjoy the work.
Okay.
I did enjoy the perks.
You enjoyed the perks, and they set you up nicely so that you could go and pursue your passion while you were still getting your paycheck. Yes. Okay, so let's clarify. You did not enjoy the work.
The work was monotonous. No way.
But they gave you a really good setup that you kind of like.
They did.
You felt very comfortable there.
They did. They made it very comfortable, and I think that just comes when you're a quality worker. Yeah. I feel like jobs will make sure, like, hey,
we need to keep you.
We need to keep her. Right. You know what I mean? Or whomever. Like, we need to keep them because it's hard. It's hard to find people who are, and I feel like I'm someone that when I do something, I tend to put, a lot of effort into it. I like to put my best foot forward. My reputation is important to me. So naturally, I'm just going to dive into work, even though it wasn't really serving me in any way.
Yeah. You want to make sure that your work across the board is quality.
Of course. Of course. So they made it very comfortable.
Okay. So you were comfortable. And then up until beginning of this year, you were still in this job.
Yes, I was working at home part-time on a schedule that I could set up.
Tell me when you started to actually pursue music as a little bit more than just a hobby.
Yes. So around I'll say around 2013, 2014 was like, I was like, something started rustling in me a little bit. Like something started stirring up in my spirit. And I was just like, I remember I did karaoke at a Ruby Tuesday or something like that.
Naturally.
And this lady came up to me, drunk as ever, was like, girl, you need to pursue music. And I just brushed it off over my family. I'm like, oh no,
Right.
And I don't know why that lady just sat with me, but she was just so emphatic about
so passionate about it.
Yeah, like you have a voice. And so at that point I was like, I talked to God and I was like, I'll give it 1 year. This was like 2014. Okay. I'll give it 1 year.
Yeah.
If something doesn't pop, then I know this isn't meant for me.
Yeah.
And within that first year, I got a background opportunity, which a mutual friend sent to us. Michael Loyalty had sent me.
Really?
A background.
Oh my God, wait, Michael. First of all, Michael is one of my dearest friends, and he was actually my first ever guest on this podcast. So shout out to Michael.
That's the episode I saw. That is the episode I saw, yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
I was already writing, and stuff, and I put out a song on SoundCloud, totally green. I had no clue what I was doing. But he sent me this audition, and I went and I got it. And it opened my eyes to the possibilities. It was with an artist named Raury. He was a singer, rapper from Atlanta. And he was with Love Renaissance. And, we went to, every festival. We went all across the world. And I was like, wow, this was
20...
From that moment, 2015. From that moment, I just...
Wow,
I was like, I got to do this.
All of this while you're still working in this job.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work.
It was.
But it was worth it.
I was like, I'm going to make it happen.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And getting to see the world and going on tour. And I'm sure you have many connections through that.
Yeah, for sure. There was just being in the rooms with people. Yeah. I mean, I met so many people. I met celebrities, just being in green rooms. You know what I mean? Backstage and, you're just sitting there. It's like that. I have an interesting story. I was backstage at South by Southwest.
Yes.
And there was a girl in the green room, and she had this orange hair, and I'm like, who is this girl? She turns around, I'm like, SZA? And it's SZA, and it's right when she had dyed her hair orange.
Yes.
She's like, yes, me. And just the proximity of just being able to talk to these people and seeing the similarities and knowing like, oh, these are regular people. You know what I mean? And
it's true. It's really true.
And what they're doing, you have the capacity. So I started seeing myself in the people that were already doing it.
Yeah, you almost started to picture yourself as one of them.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I was like, this is like, I feel like I'm navigating this way too easily.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just begin to believe like, oh, I believe I could be a part of these spaces and be just as impactful. And so that was 2015. Then 2016, I started singing with K. Michelle. And then, 2017, I put out my first project. So it just all started.
Okay, so within that year that you prayed about, things start to happen. And that's how you knew, okay, this is actually what I'm supposed to be doing. Yeah,
for sure.
Okay. For sure. So from 2015 on, you were kind of pursuing it as your side hustle.
Yeah, it was to an extent. But 2015 is when I actually went part-time for my job. So my job offered this opportunity. They were like, hey, flex, if you want to do a flex schedule where you work part-time, you didn't get benefits, but you still were able to, work part-time. I was like, I want to do that. I was the only person that signed up at the firm. So they were like, no, we're not going to do it. Okay. And I was like, well, then I'm leaving.
And of course, they're, again, keeping quality employees. They're like,
of course, they were like, okay, well, we'll set something up for you, blah, blah, blah. So from 2015 on, I was working part-time at my job. Okay. And then doing music part-time. So it was this balance that I wasn't working full-time and then trying to manage this music career. There was a bit of leeway, you know what I mean, in my schedule.
A way to make it possible.
For sure.
I feel like this would have been very challenging to do while you have.
Oh, very challenging. I wouldn't have had a job because I was leaving.
Right.
And, you know what I mean? And the fact that they didn't have to grant me like PTO and things, there was flexibility for them to say, oh, you can be gone for 2 weeks and, it's not going to impact, our administrative,
Exactly.
duties, so.
Exactly. Okay. So then what happened early this year where you decided that it's time for you to leave?
2019, I worked very hard to prepare myself to transition into being full-time. I was like, this is the time. I felt like I was making some really good music. I felt like I was starting to kind of like be a little more intentional about the connections, the people I was talking to, how I was presenting myself online. So I just felt like I was getting a lot more serious that year. So I worked so hard. I saved.
What is that process like? How much did you save? How much did you know that you needed to save?
Okay.
What was your plan?
This is the plan. I got so I'm a very frugal kind of girl.
Yes.
I have no problem saying that. I don't mind investments as long as, you know what I mean? Like, somebody's like, well, what's the difference between frugal and cheap? And I'm like, well, frugal people to me are willing to make the investment if they deem it worthy. You know, exactly. But they're not just out there. So
you spend money on things that matter to you.
That matter. Yeah, that completely. So I got down and said, okay, what are my expenses for a month?
Okay.
And what exactly do I need to save? So I was able to work. I paid off my student loans. Like I got so much debt down.
Yes. Incredible.
So much, and I was like, all I need to make is $2,000. That's, we're in Atlanta, so rent, I know
it's a little bit cheaper than up here. I was like, with $2,000 would be your rent.
Atlanta's a whole nother you get rent under, don't.
I can't even talk about that. I can't even talk about how much money I'm wasting up here in New York. Anyway.
But it's the experience, right? Listen, I want to be in New York City, so I'm like, I want to at least.
Everyone should experience it at some point.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, all I have to do is get, my expenses are $2,000.
Okay.
So I had already saved. So I saved up like 3 to 4 months, 3 to 4 months of emergency savings. Like I made sure I did that. And then I was like, all I have to make is $2,000. So with that mindset,
yes,
I was like, okay, cool. That's how I was working all 2019. Like I was so intentional. 2020 comes, I'm like, yes, I'm at my point. I'm a little above my point. I can move.
Yes.
So I put at the top of March, I gave them a month because I had worked there so long. I was very specialized. Like I was someone that only did my job. So I completely understood that they were going to have to like deeply train somebody to transition into my position.
Right.
Top of the month of March. Now, March, we knew about COVID-19, but it was still very much so like a world thing. Like, because I think they found out maybe like end of January.
Wait, they found out late January. We found out late February.
Late February, exactly.
But so March, we still didn't know the severity of it.
Right, exactly. So top of March, I'm like, cool, you know, I'm putting in my month's notice. So we got down to the 30th of March and things completely changed. So I was like, I have to go.
Did you panic?
I didn't panic.
Okay.
Which is very weird for me because
that's a good thing.
I like to control things.
Right. So I'm the same.
So this has been
we lost control.
Listen.
We have no
so
control.
I actually did not panic because I didn't think, I saw it as like, oh, this is going to be something that, you know, goes through the summer and then, you know, we're back on.
Right, by fall.
And I had already, you know, I'd made sure that I had a savings. So it wasn't this dire, like, oh my God, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
So now month one goes and it's like, okay, so mind you, I also I'm in a corporate band.
Right.
So we do like just a lot of private events.
Got it.
So that was something that was also going to be like supplementing me while I figure out how to maximize, you know, income from my music.
Right. Makes sense.
But with COVID, you know.
Oh, there's no corporate gigs. There's
no corporate gigs.
Right.
So yeah, I'm gonna be honest.
So yeah, tell me about that, because I think that's what's going to be interesting about this season in particular is like, we have all these dreamers and all these people that wanted to do these things, and things just drastically changed for everyone. So how did you deal with that? And like, how did you, you know, the savings that you had, did that change what you thought you needed? And tell me about that experience.
I think it has completely changed. I think gig workers, especially have been hit hard. I mean, a lot of industries have been hit hard, but I only can speak from me being a gig worker and talking to other gig workers. Like, this has been something that's unprecedented. So like, we're all trying to figure out like, what does our career, our life being contractors, how does that look going forward? Yeah. And for me, it did change what I needed. I wasn't spending as much because of course we were in quarantine. So that kind of my expenses were, you know. Exactly. Yeah. They were smaller. Yeah. So I was able to maintain a little longer than I thought I would have been able to go. But what it's shown me is I've had to like completely shift, shift, a major shift. I mean, to the point where I was like, okay, I'm not going to be able to make money the way I used to make money. Yeah. So how do I navigate this? And a big way that I think I started to do was just explore other options. Like, what industries are still moving right now? Right. You know what I mean? And a big one is influencer marketing. Yeah. Let me talk about it. Yeah. So I began to be like, okay, people had hit me up always, like just about, oh hey, you know, we like what you're doing. Right. Yeah. You want to do this? And I was just like, nah, that's not really the place. You kind of ignored it. I did ignore it because I was just like, I need to focus. Right. But this time allowed me to say, like, I understood that I have an ability to storytell. Yeah. To tell stories. Yeah. And my story very well because I'm living it. Yes, and, exactly. And I think brands begin to see like, oh, okay, you know, we like what you're doing. How can we be a part of this? Like, I'm in constant talks with brands at this point and have even started to make money now. So it's like, I had to shift. I had to figure out what skill sets I have. And this is not long-term. I'm not saying I'm going to be an influencer or be working with content creation, digital content creation for the rest of my life. But this is what was making, this is one of the few industries that was actually doing well during this time. Yeah. But I had to find a shift, and I felt like there were ways that I could merge two things that I really enjoyed, and that was music and wellness. And so I began to really talk about my wellness journey and how it directly affects my creativity. And I was able to kind of like create this new space of my journey and like rebrand in a sense. So that you hadn't in a way that you hadn't even planned to. You kind of just shifted and you're like, okay, this could work for me. Yeah. Okay, so then you capitalized on some of these brands that were reaching out, and you decided to go into the influencer marketing world as a means of income during this time. As a means of income, and honestly, I mean, it is influencer marketing from the brand side of things. I saw it as like, oh, I'm creating content, and if this makes sense for your me brand and the people, then let's make some content together.
Right.
But I know that's the appropriate term. It's hard for me to identify as that way because I don't even see myself as like, I'm this influencer that's getting.
I know. I feel like the word influencer is always so tricky because the people that actually do work in that space, they don't like to use that term, but to everyone else, like that's the term that they're using.
That's what it is.
That's
right.
What makes sense.
It's influencer marketing. It is what
exactly.
I don't care how you want to dress it up, girl.
Absolutely, it is influencer marketing, and that's so. So it's interesting that during this time, like I think that a lot of influencers were trying to figure out how to pivot, and I think that social media was one of the areas that I think took off. Because what was everyone doing all day? They were on their phones. They were on Instagram. They were shopping online, you know? So I think that like that was an area that was really smart to tap into. How has the experience been working with these brands and working as an influencer?
It can be challenging. It can. And the challenging part comes in the consistency of being disciplined, of knowing like if you're going to take on campaigns from different brands. If you want brands to come to you, if you want your pitches to be accepted, there's a level of consistency and seriousness that they need to see in your content creation.
Exactly.
And if you're there's an influencer that I listen to all the time. She just talks about the idea of being consistent. And if you're not showing up for yourself when there aren't brands around and just, you know, saying, hey, I want to share this part of my life.
How can they rely on you?
Pay you to do that? You know what I mean? So it's hard in the sense of just being disciplined and showing up and saying, okay, if I'm going to post 5 out of 7 days a week, then I'm going to post 5 out of 7 days a week. If I'm going to do a YouTube video every week, if I'm going to make sure I'm also writing and documenting my music career, all these things take discipline. And to me, I believe there's a level of just seriousness that you have to have about social media that I didn't always have. You know what I mean? It's
okay,
it was very fleeting for me. It was just like, okay, you know, this is just a tool that I use to kind of like
document
but I didn't ever see the business part of it.
Yeah, it's true. And, you know, I feel like some people don't realize the business part of it unless you have worked in that space. You know, I have the luxury of having worked in the influencer marketing space. So I actually do know how lucrative it can be as a career. It's actually kind of scary
it's very scary
how lucrative it is.
The 6-figure influencers are real.
Listen, when I realized, and you know, because when I worked at a magazine, when I saw what we were paying influencers to post one time on their feed, I was like, what am I doing? This makes no sense. I'm literally paying. I don't get it. Make it make sense. I don't get it. So yeah, if you can do it well, it's a really smart area to tap into because not everyone can do influencer marketing.
Exactly.
Especially in an organic way. And that's what all the brands want. They want this organic influencer that just fits their brand seamlessly without having to alter too much. So you found that the wellness space was an area that you could
listen to very easily because I already was talking about wellness. I mean, like I have affirmations on my first project. Like there was you know, I mean, there was always something very like probably towards the end of college. In college, I was a mess. But like once I graduated, I was like, I started reading more. You know, I started really getting to like spiritual books. And so like it really started to shape the way I was like building my life. You know what I mean? Manifesting. So wellness was just a very important tenet.
So it was already a part of your brand.
Oh, it was. I mean, I always talked about journaling. I always talked about the idea of eating well. I mean, I've been plant-based since 2014.
I'm newly plant-based.
Oh,
I like to say plant-based adjacent because I'm not super strict all the time, but
which is fine. You're plant-based.
I'm plant-based, exactly. But wow, since 2014, you said?
Yeah, so I started off as vegetarian.
Okay.
And then pescatarian.
Okay.
Then I did vegetarian. Then I went back to pescatarian. And now at this point I'm just plant-based. I say the same thing because 80% of my meals are either vegetarian or vegan. Yeah. I don't buy meat. Right. But if I'm somewhere and I'm like on the road and it'll be like, all we
traveling
have is
chicken hard.
And fish.
Right.
I'm like, I'm gonna eat the fish. I'm not gonna starve. That's so again, that's why I say I'm a little more fluid too. Like
yeah, and I agree. I think that usually when I'm traveling is when I'm a little bit more flexible or when I'm eating out or something. But I don't mind that lifestyle though. I don't know how your experience has been, but clearly it's been okay since 2014. But I actually enjoy it, and I like finding these alternatives.
Yeah, it is fun. It's fun. I'm like, okay, like when I found out about, jackfruit and was like, because I never grew up with jackfruit in my home.
I had no idea what it was, honestly, until recently, within the last couple months, to be quite honest.
Yeah, so I'm like, oh, this is giving me shredded chicken vibes. Like, okay.
It's delicious.
And like oyster mushrooms. Like, there's just so many things that I got to explore and play with from this. So yeah, I agree with you. I enjoy that part.
So wellness is kind of where you tapped into, but tell me, let's talk about your music a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And during this time, how creative were you during quarantine? Did you feel the need to create? Could you create?
During quarantine, I had the release of Bed Warmer.
Yes.
So I had done a whole content rollout for that, and that was a lot of fun.
Okay.
But I really got burned out in about May, especially when everything started happening. Yeah. With George Floyd and like all this,
just like draining.
It was so draining. I left for a whole month. I was not on social media. I was like in the midst of a pandemic. Yeah. And then this, I left and I was not creative at all. Yeah. I felt, like you said, I just felt extremely drained. Yeah. And I didn't have the bandwidth to start thinking about being creative. I didn't even feel comfortable using music as a way to express my pain or angst. I just was feeling so just dull.
Yeah, I would say May to June was just, it was hard. Okay. It was draining. And it's funny because I wanted to do a little bit of a social media fast because I wanted to focus on how I actually felt. And I think that I feel two different ways. I think that one, it's important to be on social media during those times because, you sometimes people need to hear your message and you have a message to share. And it's important to get that out there. But at the same time, I feel like it can be really challenging because there are so many messages out there and you're taking them all in. And it's almost like other people telling you how to feel. And I didn't like that. So I was going to take a little bit of a hiatus, but what I did instead of completely getting off is I would only get on to share my opinion, but I didn't scroll and I didn't I didn't take in, I only put out. Yeah. Because it was a tough time.
No, for sure. I've completely feel you on that. Like it was a lot of messaging. And I was like, okay, should I be upset? Right. Should I be sad? Should I be quiet? Should I keep going? Like it was just so many.
I agree.
So many things being thrown at us. So I feel you. Like, oh, do I protest? Do I not? Because we're in a pandemic. Like,
exactly. Yeah. There was no right answer. No. So I totally understand that time that we just kind of all needed to sit still and not really do anything, not create, not share, just be.
Yeah, just be. That's it.
What is the music industry looking like for you?
Honestly, the music industry, there's parts of it that are still going, of course. Like people are still putting out music content. Right. People are still putting out visuals. I mean, there's a lot of virtual shows. I know you've probably seen on late night or just different festivals hosting little things online. Right. So I think what's going on right now is the industry is like, okay, how are we, because I mean, what industry is not driven by capitalism? They're at this point, they're just trying to figure out how are we going to be making money off of, a major source of income for our artists, which is touring. Exactly. So we don't have any date on when things are going to start opening up. I know they're projecting for summer 2021. Yeah. But who knows? We have no idea. Yeah. So I think right now people are trying to figure out how to monetize, especially independent artists. I mean, we've lost a lot of venues in Atlanta, independent music venues. I mean, at least 10 that were really sources of income for artists to go and places that they could perform and, share. So I think everyone's just trying to figure out like, okay, because I know I say with like major artists, there's still a lot of space for them to make money in a sense, but like a lot of independent artists
it's a bit more difficult.
Yeah, difficult. They make it on shows. Yeah, performing.
It's
so
true.
I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen too many things. I've seen some panels and talks about how, the industry is really going to be looking to do a lot more things digitally, even when it comes down to just festivals, maybe like VR festivals, or,
Yeah.
doing more like, I don't know if how close this would be, but maybe like even the sense of like setting up virtual stages where there would be, a venue that you could go to that would allow the same amount of people if there was one venue, but maybe they have like 50 people at this venue, and they'll kind of like have a, what is it called? You remember at Coachella when they premiered the Tupac,
like a hologram type of thing? Yes.
The hologram, like they would have an artist maybe at a Seattle stage.
Okay.
But they would have 20 different venues on, and they were like, well, we don't know what venue the artist is going to be at, but someone's going to get the real artist and everyone else is going to get like a hologram. So they talked about that far into it. You know
what's interesting? Because I come from like the events world. We're having to get really creative right now.
Yeah.
Because the events people are who put on the events that you perform at.
Exactly.
So it's like, how can we still create these? I mean, music festivals were everything. Everyone was there. I don't even know how many there are to date.
So many.
Right.
I mean, and cities rely on these, like,
think about Essence Fest.
Essence Festival.
That is, I mean, the city of New Orleans relies on Essence Fest.
Yes.
And to have that completely stripped away, I mean, this time has just affected everyone in different ways. So it's causing everyone to get really creative.
Yeah.
And so for artists, it sounds like you guys are trying to figure out how to do these virtual performances.
Yeah. And trying to keep people engaged.
Yeah.
And trying to get people, sometimes the internet can be a little limiting in that space, because when you're touring and you're performing, it's like, okay, I can, be in Atlanta and do this. Mm-hmm. But if I wanted to get to a new audience, I could possibly go to New York, or I could possibly go to LA and perform or open for someone. And now when you're online, it's like, okay, hey, same people, I'm going to be doing this next, you know what I mean? Or unless you're collaborating with someone who also has a platform that they could introduce you to. Right. But that can be tough to navigate because everyone's not set up to do that yet. So it's
it's a challenge.
It's a lot of figuring out on the fly right now.
Yeah.
Throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks.
But how do you feel? How do you feel about your decision to leave your job? How do you feel about what you're doing now? How do you feel mentally, physically?
Oh, well, my decision to leave my job, I feel great.
Perfect. No regrets there.
The fact that every single day I wake up, and I could cry every time I say this because it really is a privilege that so many people do not ever get to experience, but to wake up every single day and be able to dedicate a countless amount of time to you, and investing in you and what you want to do and what you want to see in your life. So many people do not get the privilege to do that. And so I sit at home sometimes and I'm just like, this may be a really tough day. I may not know when where my next check is coming from. Yeah. But I'm here showing up for me 100% on my terms. And wow, the gratitude just flips everything else. Like anything that could be making me have a bad day completely flips it on its head. Completely.
I think that's a feeling that people only dream about. People don't some people don't actually know that that's possible.
I just was talking about this. I had no idea that there are people who create lives off being freelancers. I come from a W-2 family. So, I mean, most of my family's in education. I have a sister in public health, but I come from a W-2 family. Mm-hmm. So the idea that people are out here,
So the thing is that when I quit my job I quit my job, moved to Paris to teach, came back. Yeah. That is what I did. I started freelancing and consulting. And because I knew it was an option because I had been on the other end where we would hire freelancers.
Right.
So I was like, I know that this is a possibility. I just didn't know how and how consistent it would be and how challenging. But since doing it and having that flexibility to take on projects when I want to turn down ones that don't fit my values, my brand, it's a great feeling. But then ultimately to dedicate my time to what I want to be doing, which is this right here, that is the biggest blessing. And it makes me never, ever regret my decision to leave my job.
I mean, hands down, like the uncertainty. And I always was so worried about that because like I said before, I am very much so comfortable in my control. Like as long as I know where things are going, where things are happening, but this space has just been I've been able to experience every emotion in the book, every emotion possible. And
everything.
Ultimately, there's still this grounding sense of like peace and satisfaction and fulfillment that whatever it is I'm building it. You know what I mean? And that's how I have to
for
see
you.
It. Yeah, for me and for my partner, and for our families, and for whatever, you know. It's just the idea of like being, because even if, and I say this, you know, even if nothing ever comes of this, I am an example in my family of like, this is somebody that took a risk and chased a dream. You know what I mean? And you could do it too. I mean, I talked to my nephew, you know, my sister was like, she talks to me about this. She's like, you know, I never would have thought, my nephew's in dance. He's a dancer, professional dancer. She was like, you showed him that this was an opportunity that you could, you know, pursue something that's in the arts that, you know, is a representation of you, something you're creating. And I'm like, if I could just be that.
To inspire someone else, I think is honestly a job well done. If you can inspire someone else to follow their passion and to pursue their dreams, I think you've done a great job. You've really fulfilled a purpose.
That's it. I mean, that's satisfying to me. Of course, there's things that I want beyond, you know, goals that I want to achieve, but like the sense of like, man, I tried. I put it all. I went all in. That I can leave Earth knowing like, oh, I put it all in. So if it didn't happen, cool. But I did. I showed up for my part.
Because it's that feeling of no regrets. I tried.
Oh gosh.
I gave it everything I could, and at least I tried.
I'll take a risk over regret any day.
100%. I never want to think about what I could have done.
Oh, that's the work. It's such a dark feeling for me to think like, oh, that just breaks me.
Yeah, or it's like, what would have happened if I actually did this? I don't want to think about what would have happened. I want to just know what actually happened.
What actually happened. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
So what's next for you? What are you working on? What are you really excited about? What's keeping you going during this time?
Yeah. So what I'm working on, I actually, on Monday, I released a video for Bed Warmer. So that was really exciting.
Exciting. And, okay, wait, where can everyone watch this video? Because the song is
so it's
incredible.
on my YouTube channel. Okay. But you can also just go to angelwhite.co, which is my site. We'll talk about that all at the end.
Yes.
But
okay.
I have it on my links page. So it's there.
Yes.
So I was really happy. That took a lot of time, patience, and it was a little piece of quarantine art. We made it work, amidst all of the limitations.
Yeah.
But I released that and I'm really, really happy about it. I have a new single coming up too. It's called Next to Me. So that's going to be hopefully dropping at the top of November. Fingers crossed. We're working on the rollout. So I have my next single. It's a love song. So I think it'd be perfect for the colder weather.
Yes. For what? Cupping season?
For the holidays. Yeah. And I'm also, of course, working on my project as well, but I've been really leaning into my affinity for all things wellness. Okay. And I've been like blogging, and I've been doing YouTube videos, and just on Instagram, just putting up my wellness journey and just sharing tips and techniques and my ups and my downs. I mean, I share days where I'm just like I'm downward spiraling. Yeah. And I just want to let you all know that it's okay. So I'm just
great.
Very authentic and transparent with my journey, because again, this is day by day for me. There is no blueprint. Yes. And at least not in my immediate circle on how to navigate this. So that's kind of what I've been working on. I'm really excited to continue to put music out, but also the content and the story around the music is just as important to me. Yeah. So I like sharing all of that as well. Yeah,
it is. Because you mentioned earlier, you're a storyteller. So it makes sense that that's a really important aspect of your music.
Very important.
So since you're so, you're very tapped into this wellness space, how can people protect their mental health during this time? Or how have you been protecting it? What's something that you do that you really think that has gotten you through?
Yeah. One, I tailor my timeline.
Okay. I like that.
My timeline.
I like it.
Here's the thing. We can be friends in real life, and we don't have to be friends online. Like,
absolutely.
I know people that just have different personas online.
Listen, I have unfriended, I have unfollowed, I have you do what you have to do.
It just is what it is. You don't have to subject yourself to anything that you don't want to subject yourself to. So if you enjoy social media and you find value in it and you still want to be a part of it, I always encourage people to tailor your timeline. If there's something you don't want to see, remove
Get rid of it. Yeah.
Get rid of it.
It's no one is forcing you to follow some of the people that you follow.
Nobody. But we have these, and I get it because I've experienced it. We have these values that I feel like are not our own, of the idea of like, oh, you have to, anybody that follows you or friends you have to friend them back. If you're friends in real life, you got to friend them on there. It's like, no, they're not synonymous. These are separate spaces.
These are two different things.
They're different things. I love my mom. That doesn't mean I need to follow her on.
Listen, I didn't follow my mom for a while.
I love her though to death.
I know.
But yeah, so that's a big thing about mental health. I also think it's important to really be present with your self-talk.
Yeah.
And oftentimes our self-talk can easily become a reflection of, like you said, the messaging that we're getting.
Yes.
So even the music we're listening to or the shows we're watching, I mean, we may like some trash TV, but ultimately it's shaping.
Yeah. Your image. What's up here? Image. Yeah. It's true.
And I mean, I've seen myself, and there's nothing wrong with. I'm just saying, like, the idea of me, I've had times where I've really binge watched like reality TV. Yeah. And I start finding myself wanting certain things.
Listen, so the periods of binge watching trash TV, when I like resurface, like when I come out of my apartment, I'm like, who am I? Like, I don't feel okay. It's really bad. And I'm too embarrassed to tell you the shows that I have binge watched that are trash. So I'm not going to do that to myself, but let's just say it does a lot up here. What you consume does a lot up here.
It does. And so I agree. Like, I feel like, just being intentional about what you're receiving.
Yeah.
And then, allowing the self-talk to just, I've been doing this with myself. I've been kindly redirecting, softly redirecting. So when I start having the doubt, having the insecurity, like, it's not a like, no, don't do that. It's a very kind, like, thank you for this. I know that this is something that's probably happening in order to protect me from whatever we may be scared of, but I don't need it right now.
Yeah.
It's not necessary. Elizabeth Gilbert really talks about this. She's a writer. She wrote Eat, Pray, Love, but she has a book called, she has a good called Big Magic, and it's talking about creativity and protecting it and the holiness that is creativity and how we've tried to commodify it and all these things. Okay. But she talks about the idea of, like, really not being kind to your fear and your doubt, and just saying, hey, I don't need you right now. Thank you, but I don't need you right now. And then redirecting to the positive. So I've been doing that with myself. I've been doing that myself a lot. Yeah.
That's important. And kind of going off of that, another thing that I've been doing is I like the kindly redirecting, but I also try to sometimes acknowledge, why am I feeling this way?
Facts. The why. Yes.
Because then it makes it a little bit easier for me to kindly redirect after I figured it out.
Yes. That's an important part. No, for sure. Like, well, why? I think that's great. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, digging behind that. And I think that's where I actually am in my life, in my relationships. Everything is like, well, why?
Why? The why is so important. We hear it all the time.
The why is important to me right now.
But it's really important.
It's really important to me right now. And just understanding, like, well, why are we this way? Or why are we doing this? Or why? And I think there's a lot of great revelations that have come out of just asking.
Yes.
And being open to hear why.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Oh, it's so true. I just think that, like, right now, mental health is so important, especially for people that have, taken this leap of faith and are in these creative industries. We have to find a way to keep ourselves healthy so that we can continue to produce and continue to do what we want to do. I mean, and I admit it all the time. Quarantine was an interesting time, and I didn't feel like doing a lot. Some people were super productive. It was interesting. I was on one of those, like, Zoom birthday calls or something during quarantine, and someone was like, if everyone doesn't come out of quarantine knowing at least one or two different languages, and I was like, hold on, we're gonna stop that right now. there should be no expectations coming out of quarantine.
Exactly. Come out alive. How about that?
Alive is the only requirement.
The only requirement.
Everyone is dealing with this differently, and the expectations on other people and people thinking that you need to use this time a certain way was just, it's toxic. That was not okay. We all had to deal, differently. And I think that for me, I spent a lot of time on my mental health instead of creating and producing and working. I did a lot of meditation and journaling, devotion, and it helped me to come out and want to create, but I couldn't do it during that time.
Right. No, I completely agree with you. Like, hustle porn is real. Mm-hmm. Everybody's on there like do. Yeah. The fake busy, like the fake, like what, it's just it is like you said, it's just draining. It's linked to capitalism, but I mean, I will digress.
Yeah. Yes.
But the idea of like you are what you do, and it's like, come on, guys. Like some people actually lost family members. Some people lost jobs. Some people
didn't realize that this was a little bit more than you having to stay in your house.
Thank you. Your job moving remote. It was
right. There was a bit more to it that I think people actually did not realize. People were grieving. People were out of work. I'm sorry that you didn't like working from your living room, but people actually lost their jobs. People actually lost family. So it's like this time was different for everyone, and I think everyone had to figure out how to deal with it. And then I think with creatives, it was after the fact, after you kind of found out how you wanted to spend the time, how to create again. And how to back to that space where you wanted to put out new music or new content. Mm-hmm. So do you feel like you're there, like where you're like, I'm ready to create it?
Yes.
Ready to
I am.
Okay.
I am there.
And let's talk about what you want to pass on to this next generation of people that want to create music and create content and maybe even people that are in this position that you were in where they don't see it as a career or something that they can do professionally. What shot would you pass on to these people? What would you give them? What would you tell them to do with their time, their energy, what they're doing now?
Yeah. This is intense, fun.
Should we take a sip before you give your shot?
Life is meant to be lived.
Yeah.
Life is meant to be lived. Mm-hmm. And when I say that, I'm really talking about the idea of just constantly exploring, constantly expanding, really, really tapping into that curiosity that you were born with, right? When we came into this world, we were so curious.
Yeah.
We wanted to learn about everything. We wanted to do everything. We wanted to experience everything. And I know life happens and we oftentimes lose that, but really tapping back into that and understanding like life is about experience. Mm-hmm. And however you can find a way to experience something new. Yeah. I say go for it. Uncertainty will always be there. Fear will always be there. Again, it's tougher for different people. I mean, for different reasons. Yeah. So I'm not saying it's all, glitter and butterflies and all that. But but literally, like, I don't know if there's, I mean, Nike it's just do it. I'm learning that life is not linear. I know that's how time is constructed for us, but it's not linear. Yeah. And at any moment you can decide to say, I want to do something different. Yeah. And that's such a blessing that each and every one of us have. And rather that's with children, rather that's married, rather that's alone, right? Rather that's with your parents in your life, rather it's not, we all have an opportunity to say, we're going to do something different. We're going to, and so that's probably a big thing that I have for me is like, live, be present and live. Like, I don't know how else to say it. I know it sounds so like woo woo. My sister always talks about like you and the millennial talk, like it's so lofty and like. Listen, but it's really like
it's what I live by. Is just live life.
Just live. Just do things that bring you joy. And when you can't, find the next moment that you can. Right. And this too shall pass. That's a big thing for me. This too shall pass.
I'm drinking it up. I'm like, yep, this too shall pass. Live life. You're preaching to me. So okay, where can we find your music video? Where can we find your music? Tell us everything where we can listen to all Angel White has to offer.
Okay, so I have my site, which is Angel White, my name, .co, not .com, .co. And so there I have all of my music, my videos, links to my blog. I have a blog called The Well-Fed Artist, and that's kind of where I'm talking about like wellness.
Okay.
My journey with that and how it, intertwines with my creative and my music career.
Yes.
And so everything's there. I'm Angel White on all, streaming platforms.
Yeah.
And on Instagram, I'm Angel R. White. So that's where you can find me. I'm pretty much, I pretty much hang out in Instagram. I do a little Twitter.
Okay.
Twitter every now and then.
Okay.
But Instagram is
where to find
that's
you.
my home base.
Okay, I love that. Thank you so much, Angel. This has been
thank you.
Such an amazing conversation. I'm so excited to go and explore a little bit more of your wellness space.
Yeah, please.
That's something I'm super interested in, and I love learning more about wellness. So I love speaking to people that are really tapped into that space.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I really appreciate you having me. I love this idea. I think it's so cute.
You.
Like, I think it's so it's on par. It's perfect. Like,
yes.
This is the time, you know what I mean, for these types of conversations.
Do what you want to do.
I'm glad you're doing this.
Thank you so much.